She was sent to destroy the most dangerous billionaire alive. But he trusted her with his life. What she did next changed everything. Everyone in the city knew his name. Not because it appeared in magazines or charity galas, but because people lowered their voices when they spoke it. Adrian Vale. A billionaire whose power didn't come from politics or inheritance alone, but from control. Over markets, over secrets, over people. Men feared him. Governments negotiated with him. Enemies didn't get second chances. And women were never allowed close enough to matter. Until her. Lena crossed paths with Adrian Vale by accident, or so she thought. She was hired as a private consultant, brought into his world under layers of contracts and warnings she barely understood. The first time she met him, he didn't smile. Didn't offer a handshake. He simply looked at her like he was weighing her worth. "You have 3 rules," Adrian said calmly. "You don't ask about my past. You don't touch what isn't yours. And you never lie to me." Lena met his gaze, steady despite the chill running through her. "And if I break them?" Adrian's eyes darkened. No one ever does twice. That should have terrified her. Instead it intrigued her. Working for Adrian meant entering a world built on silence and loyalty. Armed guards. Restricted floors. Conversations that stopped when she entered a room. Lena learned quickly that this wasn't just a business empire. It was a fortress. And Adrian was its most dangerous weapon. He watched her more than he spoke to her. Not with desire. With suspicion. Like he expected betrayal from everyone. But slowly things changed. He trusted her opinions. Asked for her presence in meetings he never let outsiders attend. When she spoke, he listened. One night she found him alone in his office, staring out over the city like it was something he owned, but didn't enjoy. "You don't sleep much," she said. "Sleep is a weakness," he replied. "So is loneliness." That got his attention. He turned to her, studying her like she'd just stepped onto thin ice. "Careful, Lena." She should have stepped back. He didn't. What Lena didn't know, what no one knew, was that her presence wasn't an accident. She had been placed there. By his enemies. And the deeper Adrian Vale fell into trusting her, the closer she came to destroying the one man who had never been betrayed, and lived to tell the story. Because when the most dangerous billionaire alive finally lets a woman close, the fallout is lethal. Lena knew the truth long before Adrian Vale ever looked at her twice. Her name wasn't even Lena. At least not originally. It was a name built for this job, layered with fake records, clean references, and a history convincing enough to fool the most paranoid billionaire alive. What she hadn't expected was how closely Adrian watched. Not like a man admiring a woman, but like a predator studying a possible threat. He tested her constantly. Changed instructions at the last minute. Gave her access, then took it away. Asked questions he already knew the answers to. Most people broke under that pressure. Lena didn't. That was her first mistake. Adrian noticed everything. The way she never flinched when his voice dropped. The way she met his eyes instead of lowering hers. The way she stayed calm in rooms full of powerful men who feared him. "You're not afraid of me," he said one evening as they reviewed documents alone. "I wouldn't be here if I was," Lena replied. For a moment, something unreadable crossed his face. From that day on he kept her close. Late nights turned into routine. Strategy meetings stretched past midnight. Silence settled comfortably between them. Rare, dangerous comfort. Adrian spoke little, but when he did, it felt intentional, like each word carried weight. Lena began to see what no one else did. The man who never slept more than 3 hours. The scars he never explained. The way he locked every door himself, no matter how many guards surrounded him. Power hadn't made Adrian Vale fearless. It had made him alone. And that knowledge sat heavy in Lena's chest. The call came at 2:17 a.m. "You're getting attached," her handler said coldly. "I'm doing my job," Lena replied. "Then remember the end game," he warned. "He falls. You walk away. She hung up and stared at the city through Adrian's glass walls. Walking away suddenly felt impossible. The shift happened the night Adrian invited her into his private study. No guards. No assistants. Just the two of them and a silence that felt intimate in a way that scared her. I don't let people in here, he said, pouring a drink. Ever. Lena accepted the glass, her hand unsteady. Why me? Adrian looked at her for a long moment. Because you haven't tried to control me. That was when Lena realized the truth. The most dangerous billionaire alive wasn't immune to betrayal. He just had never seen it coming. And when he did, she would be the one holding the knife. Adrian Vale did something no one expected. He relaxed. Not publicly. Not enough for anyone else to notice. But with Lena, the tension he carried like armor began to loosen. He stopped watching her like a threat and started watching her like a presence he trusted. That shift terrified her more than his suspicion ever had. He asked for her opinion during high-level negotiations. Sat beside her instead of across the room. Let silence stretch between them without filling it with control. One night, after a brutal meeting that left the board shaken, Adrian remained seated while everyone else left. Stay, he said to Lena. She hesitated only a second before closing the door. You could have taken over that room, she said. Instead you listened. Adrian leaned back slowly. Power isn't raised voices. It's knowing when you don't need one. She smiled despite herself. That was the moment she realized she admired him. The invitation came days later. Not to a meeting. Not to an event. Dinner. Private. No staff. No agenda. Lena knew she should decline. Every rule of her mission screamed at her to create distance. But curiosity and something far more dangerous. 1. Adrian cooked. The sight of him in a simple black shirt, sleeves rolled, movements calm and practiced felt too intimate. This wasn't the man feared across the city. This was someone else entirely. You don't trust restaurants, she said lightly. I don't trust kitchens I don't control, he replied. They ate slowly, conversation drifting from business to memories neither shared with others. Lena spoke about places she'd never visit again. Adrian spoke about nights spent building something no one believed in. You sound lonely, she said softly. His expression hardened, then eased. Loneliness is safer than disappointment. The words stayed with her long after dinner ended. Late that night an alarm echoed through the building. Lena froze as lights dimmed and security rushed into motion. Before fear could take hold, Adrian was there, hand gripping her wrist, pulling her close. Stay behind me, he ordered. She did. Not because she was afraid. Because she trusted him. The threat turned out to be a false alarm. System test. But the way Adrian kept her close long after it ended said everything. His hand rested at her lower back. Proactive. Familiar. Too close. She stepped away first. Adrian, this isn't wise. His gaze dropped to where her hand had just left his chest. Nothing about you is. The tension snapped between them, sharp and undeniable. That night Lena made a mistake. She didn't send her handler the update he'd been waiting for. Instead she sat alone replaying the way Adrian had looked at her. Not like a weapon. Not like a weakness. Like someone who mattered. And somewhere deep inside her the truth settled in. She wasn't just betraying him. She was falling for him. And the most dangerous man alive was doing the same, without ever realizing how close he was to being destroyed. Lena stopped sleeping. Every time she closed her eyes she saw two versions of Adrian Vale. The man her handlers described ruthless and untouchable, and the man who stood beside her in quiet rooms, trusting her with pieces of himself he never offered anyone else. The call came at dawn. You're running out of time, her handler said. We need access. Full access. That wasn't the deal, Lena replied, her voice tight. The deal is whatever we say it is, he snapped. You wanted out of your old life. This is the price. The line went dead. Lena stared at her phone, realizing the truth. There would be no clean ending. Adrian noticed the change immediately. "You're distracted," he said during a strategy session. "That's not like you." "I'm fine," she lied. He studied her for a long moment, then dismissed everyone else. "You don't lie well," Adrian said quietly. Her pulse spiked. "I'm not asking for your secrets," he continued. "But I need to know, are you still with me?" The question wasn't professional. It was personal. "Yes," she said, and this time it wasn't a lie. That night he took her somewhere no one else had ever been. A hidden estate outside the city, surrounded by ocean and silence. No guards in sight, though she knew they were there. The air felt lighter. Safer. "I built this when I realized power attracts enemies," Adrian said as they walked along the cliffs. "This is where I come to remember who I was before all of it." Lena stopped walking. "Why show me this?" He turned to face her, the wind tugging at her hair. "Because if I trust you with this, I trust you with everything." Her heart fractured. Inside the house, the tension became unbearable. They stood too close. Spoke too softly. When Lena brushed past him, his hand caught her wrist, gentle, questioning. "Tell me to stop," Adrian said. He should have. Had she stayed. He leaned in slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. When their lips met, the kiss was restrained but full of everything they'd been denying. His hand rested at her waist, warm and steady. Lena kissed him back and felt the weight of her betrayal settle into her bones. They broke apart breathless. "This changes things," she whispered. Adrian rested his forehead against hers. "I know." Later that night, Lena sat alone on the terrace, phone trembling in her hand. Her handler's message blinked on the screen. "Upload the files. Tonight." She looked through the glass doors at Adrian standing inside, unaware. For the first time since this began, Lena understood the truth. Betraying the most dangerous billionaire alive wouldn't just destroy him. It would destroy her too. And dawn was coming fast. Lena stared at the screen until it dimmed. "Upload the files. Tonight." Her hands shook as she lowered the phone. Outside, the ocean roared against the cliffs, relentless and unforgiving, like the choice she was being forced to make. Inside the house, Adrian trusted her completely. That was the cruelest part. She moved quietly through the study, heart pounding with every step. The files were there, protected, encrypted, the kind of information people killed for. Adrian had never hidden them from her. He had never thought he needed to. Lena hesitated, fingers hovering over the terminal. Memories flooded her mind. His voice in the dark, the way he had kissed her like something precious, the way he had said everything when he meant her. "I'm sorry," she whispered, to him, to herself. And then she pressed send. Adrian felt it instantly. Not an alert. Not a warning. An instinct. He was in the security wing when the red lights flared, silent, deadly. Data breach. Trusted access. His blood went cold. "There's only one person with that clearance," his head of security said slowly. Adrian didn't answer. He was already moving. Lena heard his footsteps before she saw him. He stood in the doorway of the study, eyes dark, unreadable. The air between them felt heavy, final. "Tell me I'm wrong," Adrian said quietly. Her throat closed. "Tell me you didn't do this." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "Adrian." That was enough. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him, not in anger but in devastating calm. "I told you," he said softly. "Never lied to me." She took a step toward him. "I didn't want to hurt you. You already have." The pain in his voice cut deeper than any shout could have. "Why?" he asked. "Money? Leverage? Survival?" She shook her head violently. "I was sent. I didn't know it would become this. I didn't know I would." "Love me," he finished. Silence. Adrian let out a slow, broken breath. "That makes it worse." He turned away, jaw tight, fists clenched. For a moment, Lena thought he might order her detained. Disappeared. He didn't. Instead, he made a choice no one expected. Leave, he said. She stared at him. What? Now, he repeated. Before I change my mind. You could destroy me, she whispered. Yes, Adrian replied. But I won't. He faced her one last time. That's the price I'll pay for trusting you. Lena walked out of the estate before dawn. She didn't look back. Behind her, the most dangerous billionaire alive stood alone, betrayed, exposed, and wounded in the one place he never allowed anyone to reach. And somewhere far away, people who had wanted Adrian Vale destroyed were smiling. They had no idea what they'd just unleashed. Because betrayal hadn't broken him. It had awakened something far worse. Adrian Vale didn't rage. He didn't break things. He didn't shout orders or demand blood. That was what made him truly dangerous. By sunrise, every system breach had been traced, isolated, and sealed. The stolen data was already being hunted across servers and shell companies. His team moved with silent efficiency, following commands issued in a voice so calm it unsettled even them. They wanted me destabilized, Adrian said. So we do the opposite. The city shifted that morning. Markets corrected. Allies were warned. Enemies who thought they were hidden suddenly found doors closing, funds frozen, names whispered in the wrong ears. This wasn't revenge. It was correction. Lena discovered the truth while hiding in a small coastal town hours away. Her handler never answered her calls. Instead, a message arrived, forwarded by someone she didn't recognize. You were the distraction. He was never the target. Her breath caught. Attached were files she'd never seen before. Plans. Names. Timelines. Her handlers hadn't just wanted Adrian exposed. They wanted him dead. And they had used her to open the door. Panic set in. Lena realized the data she'd sent wasn't the final move. It was the trigger. Since corporate mercenaries. Political players who'd been waiting years for a moment of weakness. And she had given it to them. She tried to call Adrian. The call didn't go through. The first attempt on Adrian's life came that night. A convoy ambush. Clean. Professional. It failed. The second attempt came through the air. Drones disguised as surveillance. They failed too. By the third, his enemies realized something had gone wrong. Adrian Vale wasn't running. He was hunting. Lena returned to the city under cover of darkness. She didn't know if Adrian would see her. Or if he'd have her arrested. Or worse. But she knew one thing. She had started this. And she would end it. She waited outside his tower until dawn, exhaustion and fear weighing heavy in her chest. When Adrian finally appeared, flanked by guards, he stopped. Just once. Their eyes met. You shouldn't be here, he said. I know, she replied. But they're coming for you. And I can stop them. His gaze hardened. You already helped them. Yes, she said, voice breaking. Now let me help you survive. For a long moment, Adrian said nothing. Then he made a decision that would change everything. Bring her inside, he ordered. Not forgiveness. Not trust. Second chance. Earned in fire. Adrian didn't look at Lena as an ally. He looked at her as a liability. She was placed under constant watch, never alone, never unguarded. Conversations were brief, controlled, and professional. Whatever they'd shared before lived in the past, sealed behind betrayal and pain. But the threats didn't care about history. They came fast. A coordinated cyber attack hit Adrian's financial network at the same time armed men breached one of his offshore properties. The message was unmistakable. End him. No. Lena watched from the operations room as red alerts filled the screens. They're using my access patterns, she said. They think I'm still on their side. Adrian's jaw tightened. Then prove them wrong. He didn't hesitate. Lena rerouted false data, planted digital traps, and fed her former handlers exactly what they wanted to see: Fake vulnerabilities, false movements, phantom convoys. You're putting yourself back in their crosshairs, Adrian warned. I already am, she replied. For the first time since her return, he looked at her, not with anger but with something close to respect. The attack came at midnight. Explosions rocked the lower levels of the tower. Smoke filled the corridors as security scrambled. Adrian moved with lethal calm, issuing commands, directing countermeasures. Lena stayed beside him. When a blast knocked them both off their feet, she shielded him without thinking, taking the brunt of flying debris. Pain tore through her side. Adrian froze. For one terrifying second, the most dangerous man alive forgot the war around him. Lena, he said sharply, catching her before she fell. I'm fine, she lied through clenched teeth. Blood stained her clothes. They barricaded themselves in a secure room as the final threat collapsed under Adrian's counterstrike. Sirens wailed in the distance. Silence followed. Adrian knelt beside her, hands steady as he pressed cloth against her wound. You shouldn't have done that, he said. She met his eyes. I owed you. No, he replied quietly. You chose me. The words hit harder than the blast. By dawn the attack was over. Several enemies were exposed. Others vanished. The rest went quiet, smart enough to know when a war was lost. Lena was taken to a medical facility under heavy guard. As she drifted in and out of consciousness, she felt someone holding her hand. Adrian didn't let go. Later, when she woke, he was still there. This doesn't erase what happened, he said. I know, she whispered. But it changes what happens next. For the first time since the betrayal, there was no anger in his voice. Only truth. Redemption, she realized, wasn't about forgiveness. It was about sacrifice. And she was willing to bleed for it. Lena woke to white walls and silence. For a moment she thought she was alone, until she felt the familiar weight of a hand wrapped around hers. Adrian sat beside the bed, jacket discarded, exhaustion etched into his face. You should have let them hit me, he said quietly. She managed a weak smile. You would have done the same. He didn't deny it. The city buzzed with rumors. A failed assassination. A financial war that ended before anyone could name the winner. Adrian Vale emerged intact, stronger even. But behind closed doors, consequences arrived swiftly. Government officials demanded answers. Boards questioned loyalty. Adrian's enemies weren't finished. They were just regrouping. Lena? She was no longer hidden. Her real identity surfaced. Her past unraveled. She was labeled a traitor, a spy, a liability. Adrian was advised to cut her loose. He didn't. You can't protect me forever, Lena said one evening, standing at the window of the secure suite. I'm not trying to, Adrian replied. I'm choosing you. The words stunned her. After everything, she asked. Especially after everything. He stepped closer, careful, deliberate. You betrayed me. And then you saved me. Both truths exist. Her voice broke. Do you hate me? Adrian shook his head slowly. I hate what you were forced to become. Tears slid down her cheeks. He wiped them away with his thumb, gentle. But I love who you chose to be. The confession settled between them, heavy, undeniable. Their moment was cut short by an alert. One final enemy had surfaced, the architect behind everything. The one who had manipulated Lena from the beginning. He wants leverage, Adrian said. And you're it. Fear flickered through her. Then resolve. Then let me end this, Lena said. Adrian's eyes darkened. I won't lose you. You won't, she replied. Trust me. Just once more. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. The trap was set. A controlled meeting. A public place. Armed backup hidden in shadows. Lena played her role perfectly. Vulnerable, willing, alone. The enemy revealed himself. And so did Adrian Vale. The takedown was swift. Clean. Final. When it was over, the man who had orchestrated Adrian's downfall was in custody, exposed to the world. The war was over. Later that night, Adrian and Lena stood together on the balcony, city lights glowing beneath them. "What happens now?" she asked. Adrian took her hand, steady and warm. "Now we stop running." She leaned into him, resting her head against his chest. For the first time, there were no enemies left in the dark. Only the future. And the love that survived the betrayal meant to destroy it.